On the first part of that 2 section about being your full confident badass, we were going inward. It was about nervous system, self-talk, evidence, and the vessel. If you missed part 1, go and check it out first, because everything today builds on the first part. Welcome to Light of Dipa. I'm Dipa, a transformational coach and energy healer, and I help you deconstruct all parts of you that were never really yours to begin with and to rebuild from something truer. I help you be unshakable and step into your full power. So now let's get into it. Like I was saying, today we are going outwards, because confidence that lives only in your own head, in private, isn't full real yet. It has to meet the world, your relationships, your boundary, and the way you let others treat you. And that is where it actually really gets tested. A bit of tea, and then we go into it. All right, let's see. The first point, and I love this one because people don't realize how important this is, specifically those people that start their new year by, okay, now I'm going to do all my New Year's bullet points. Most of the time, people go really high on this and they don't achieve it. So we're going to talk about this now. So the first one is keep your word to yourself. Think about someone in your life who has always talked about they'll do something. I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it. And then they never do. Over time, obviously, most probably you will stop believing in them because their word loses its weight. And now think about how many times you have told yourself you would do this and then you don't do it. Now think about all the times that you've done this to yourself. You said you would start something, finish it, and show up for the thing, but then you didn't. Sometime later, you wondered why you don't trust yourself. Self-trust is not built in dramatic big wins. It is built through the 100 little commitments that you do to yourself. It is in all the small promises that you keep for yourself. That's why we say start small. Smaller then feels meaningful. And like I was saying, don't do like so many people do. They overload the promise in the first place and then they can't achieve it because they put too much. So don't stack your day with 5 things you know you won't get to and then punish yourself when you don't do it. This is not discipline. This is already self-sabotage. This is already putting yourself into failure. So do it little by little and build in buffer in those zones. Make promises to yourself that you can actually keep, because every kept promises to yourself goes into the account of internal here and here. I can trust myself. And that account is where real confidence lives and is built. Now, second point for today is cut the people pleasing. If you struggle to say no, here is what is actually happening. You are teaching the people around you that your yes doesn't mean anything because it's just automatic. And you're teaching yourself too the same thing. And this is something that I've learned through years, and it took me so much time into understanding this and to embody those boundaries. Kindness doesn't mean being available to everyone, always at your own expense. Real kindness also includes protecting yourself, protecting your own energy, so that when you give, it is full, honest, and embodied. And it doesn't come from a drained and resentful place. I know saying no can feel at first like you are doing something really bad and like you're being a bad person. Sometimes it can come with guilt and shame. So it can feel uncomfortable before it feels natural. And it's normal if you haven't done that for a while or if you never do it. It doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It's just because probably you have not yet fully named your own values and your own boundaries. So every no at the beginning might feel like a guess instead of a decision. Good news? There is a place to start here. First step is to notice what actually drains you, what frustrates you, and what makes you resentful. Those feelings are your starting point. They are bringing you towards exactly where that boundary has to go. You don't need to have it all figured out before you start because your boundaries will get clearer through practice. It's not through thinking it about them longer. And I know how this could be so tempting to just stay here and not saying it. It took me years before being able to say a grounded no, a full embodied no with no shame and no guilt, and to feel the real JOMO, the joy of missing out. This is also a super cool concept. The third thing for this section is to protect your mind from people who need you to stay small. And this happens even more than you would realize. And we know confidence spreads, so does doubt. So if you are constantly with people who question your goals, your energy, laugh at your dreams, or gossip about anyone who is doing well, you are absorbing how they think. And it's not metaphorically. You start then unconsciously treat success and ambition as unsafe because that is what you are surrounding yourself with. It doesn't mean you have to cut off all these people overnight. It means you start noticing who leaves you feeling more possible after you talk to them and who leaves you feeling smaller. I would suggest to move towards the first kind of people, the first kind of energy that shows you the possibility, the achievements, and that give you that energy and that will to go beyond it. And I would say, protect your peace from the second type of people. A good thing is like you will notice also that the people that are genuinely secure in their body are not the ones who need to tear down the others. They will be usually the ones that will uplift the others. The ones that diminish the others are usually the ones that still need to work on their own doubts, and they are not a reflection of yourself. So just choose wisely and consciously. And the fourth one is your current circumstances are not your identity. They do not define who you are. Where you are right now, your bank account, the relationship status, the job you haven't left yet. This is just like a small part. It is not the whole story, and it is definitely not a verdict on who you are capable to be. There will be moments where believing in where you're headed won't have much logical backing yet, and that is normal. Almost everyone who has built something meaningful had a stretch where the belief came first before the proof existed. So you don't need a permission from your current situation, your current result, to start trusting your direction and shooting for the stars. And last one, the piece that actually holds it all together is that real steady confidence comes from somewhere quieter, from actually knowing yourself, seeing all parts of you fully. It is not through proving yourself, but it is through knowing. It is about who you are behind the titles, the roles, and behind what society tells you. To be honest with you about this, how I learned this one. There was a period of my life where I was spending my nights, weekends, days, all my hours overworking, over delivering, because I thought that was a path. And at some point, I remember doing the work and hearing that quiet voice in my head asking, what is the point of all this? What is the point of putting all these efforts if at the end of the day is not really for me? And that question cracked something open in me, because up until then, most of my confidence would come from what I was doing. It was all built on achievement, on being useful, on proving I could deliver. And it was even increased the time I found myself jobless. And by that time, the first thing that people were asking me is like, oh, what do you do? And the first thing most of the people would answer is like their job. But when you don't have a job, like most people think you're doing nothing. The moment I actually realized this and asked myself what the point was of all these titles and roles, I realized that that kind of confidence was never going to be enough. What is the point if I lose confidence in myself if I didn't have a job or if I didn't have that kind of title? At this time, I realized that that kind of confidence was borrowed because it was depending on someone else's dream, someone else's expectation. And what I took out from these moments, may it be working for others' visions or even finding myself without a job and losing myself in relationships and all this. And what I took out from those moments, may it be from working on someone else's vision or being completely unemployed and lost in relationships, is that if you base your confidence on your achievements, your wins, your material situations, and what people think of you, it will be so fragile because all of that is just a blur and can shift in a moment, in a second, or they belong to someone else's version of you. This is the most important point, is that real steady confidence comes from somewhere quieter, which is from knowing yourself. It is not from proving yourself. It is from knowing fully yourself. And that knowing is tied to something deeper, a trust. I am not carrying this alone. I am connected to something way bigger and larger than my to-do list or even my current chapter. And you don't need to name it the way I do. I would invite you to build some version of that trust, a trust in yourself, rooted in your path and in whatever you understand that is guiding you. For myself, one practice that helped me build that trust, I used to consciously go and let myself get lost. And I experienced this a lot in my 2 years solo backpacking in many countries, in many continents. I would go off trail, not checking my phone, losing myself, and practicing listening to my inner voice, to my intuition. And it never failed me. And I've developed that sense of knowing and trusting that I am protected and guided by the universe, by my guides, ancestors, and angels. And over time, I really stopped needing external proof to believe I was on the right track, because I know and I trust that inner wisdom now. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You don't need to see the top of the mountain. You just need to trust the next step, to just keep going. The more you will go, the more you will build that self-confidence. This is the outward practice. Keep your word to yourself. Protect your boundaries. Protect your energy. Stop letting circumstances define you. And root your confidence in knowing yourself rather than constantly proving yourself. And if you put all the parts together, part 1 and part 2 of these 2 segments, this is the full practice. inward and outward, working together. If this served you, give us a like, tell us in the comments where you guys are tuning in from and which piece of this practice you are starting with. Don't forget also to hit the subscribe button, turn the notifications on so that you don't miss any content from Lights of Dipa. New episodes are out on Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, and I'll see you on the next one. Until then, you guys take care and enjoy building that confidence from the inside out. And I send you love and light wherever you are in the world and in your life. Take care.